Well, hello everyone. My name is Mighty Stream. I am here to bring the Just for Today in a meditation for April 6th to you. I hope that you have been having a beautiful week, and I hope that this Wednesday will be a beautiful, beautiful day for you. I've had a tremendous day, and I'm excited about doing this meditation this evening for you so that you can have it when you wake up. That's what I would like is for you to have this as a part of your morning routine, just like I do generally. So let's get into the Just for Today. I'm brought to you by Hope Through Navigation. I represent their Hood Recovery Services. Hood, the acronym HOOD, stands for Hope Offered on Demand. And so let's go straight to the meditation for April 6th. Wow, growing honesty. Oh, that's powerful. Okay, here we go. It says growing honesty. On a practical level, changes occur because what's appropriate to one phase of recovery may not be for another. Taken from the basic text, page 105. Let me read that again. The heading for April 6th, growing honesty. On a practical level, changes occur because what's appropriate to one phase of recovery may not be for another. Okay, so that comes from the basic text, page 105. By this point in the basic text at page 105, you are getting into some of the heavier, more meatier steps, although I really don't think there's a meteor. That's crazy. Meteor, like meteorite. I don't think there's a more meaty um, step than probably one, two, and three, the power of belief. So look, I just wanted to see where 105 is coming from. It's at the very tail end of the first book in the basic text has two books. For those of you that don't know, it's separated into two books. One is considered the text, and then the second part, the second book, is actually personal stories, which are very sweet. So this is coming from More Will Be Revealed. That's a beautiful chapter in the basic text. Okay, so for those of you looking for that information, there you go. Let's look at this. When we first came to Narcotics Anonymous, many of us had no legitimate occupation. Not all of us suddenly decide we're going to become honest and productive model citizens the moment we arrive in NA. But we soon find in recovery that we are not so comfortable doing many of the things we once did without a second thought when we were using. As we grow in our recovery, we begin to be honest in matters that probably hadn't bothered us when we used. We start returning extra change a cashier may have given us by mistake, or admitting when we hit a parked car. We find that if we can begin to be honest in these small ways, the bigger tests of our honesty become much easier to handle. Many of us came here with very little capacity to be honest, but we find that as we work the 12 steps, our lives begin to change. We are no longer comfortable when we benefit at the expense of others, and we can feel good about our newfound honesty. Just for today, I will examine the level of honesty in my life and see if I'm comfortable with it. That's beautiful. The reason why I like this reading is because I am seeing the tone of it is non-judgmental. The tone of it embraces the newcomer. It embraces the person that knows very little about Narcotics Anonymous. It embraces the old timer, the person that has been around a few blocks in this program. And I like that. I like that it is all encompassing. I like that it is allowing people to come in, sit, read it, chew on it, and determine where they're at on this topic. Of course, now we're talking about what was okay for us to do while we were using is no longer okay, right? It's even talking about that on a practical level, changes occur because what's appropriate to one phase of recovery may not be for another. So that particular sentence, that particular quote now is not talking necessarily about when we were using. It's talking about we've come into the program and we have developed or come into a point where we can say we've had one phase, at least one phase of recovery or one stage of recovery. And now it's not appropriate for this other stage. Okay. And it lets you know that this is practical. It's practical. So what have we learned? We've learned that if it's not practical, it's not spiritual. But we have also learned if it is practical, you can almost bet your bottom dollar on the fact that it will have spiritual connotation and weight. That's why when we come into the program, we have to learn how to walk this out. We have to learn how to be honest. We have to learn how to pay our bills. We have to learn how to show up at the job that hired us and do the work for the amount of time that we agreed to do it. There's people that will work on a job for 5, 10 years. In actuality, in that amount of time, they probably haven't even given that employer 2 to 3 years worth of work. They come in, they take a break, they do a little bit of work, they take their real break, they overextend the real break, they meet in the bathroom, they gossip in the bathroom, they go back to their desk, work a little bit more, they get on social media most of that time, they got their cell phone right there, and then when they leave at the end of the day, after giving that particular company 1 hour of real work, they have the audacity to take pens and paper pads, right? Pads of paper. Now, that's just a basic level because I know that I've done it. I know that I have done it. But I will tell you today, I am not that same person, right? I did that clean. So I know for a fact that it happens. But today, as we progress on our levels of honesty, we are able to say, I'm not doing that no more. That doesn't feel too good. That doesn't feel too good going to reach into my purse for a pen and I have all of my job's pens in there. No, no, I'm not going to do that anymore. So, and for some people that doesn't matter at all. It means absolutely nothing to them right now, right? Right now. But hopefully, as they come across the principles of the 12 steps and they start working their program on a more intense basis, these are changes that we hope to see. These are changes that we hope free them on deeper levels. You know, I was having a discussion with a gentleman that lives in our recovery home, and I was telling him, I'm an addict. I'm an addict in recovery. And you, whether or not you accept that you are an addict, you are living in a home for people in recovery or that have released from the prison system. a halfway house, basically. Everyone that is staffed in this home has a real experience, either with what you've gone through or what you're about to go through. The sooner you get some acceptance that the things that landed you in prison, you cannot continue to play with those very same things. You're still on paper. And if you continue to play with them, thinking that a little absenteeism here, right? A little leaving work early here, right? If you continue to play with those things, you will find yourself back in the same place you once were. It's always gradual. It's always gradual, right? And so we were just having that discussion that the little things count. The little things. The simple, small things that you agree to do are the things that you need to continue to do. Because when you start slipping on those things, or I let you get away with not showing me a signed slip, right? Then the minute that those little slides or small relapses take place, the bigger they can become. This is where you get an opportunity. And when I'm talking about him in particular, but I'm also talking about people in general in recovery. This is the playing field where you actually get to practice making it perfect. Will you be perfect? Absolutely not. There's going to be some slips. There's definitely going to be some hard things. But if you make it up in your mind that the things that I used to do, mighty stream, I got to let them go. I'm no longer okay looking somebody in their face and telling them a bold-faced lie about something that they don't care about anyway. I start the conversation and I'm going to lie in the conversation because suddenly in the middle of the conversation, I somehow become convicted about the fact that I'm not telling the whole truth. Or I haven't been honest about my exact motive. So why are we even having the conversation? There's no reason for you to sit here and tell me something that is not true. And it's all, you start the conversation. Why say anything? So what happens is that I believe, now someone can, if you think differently, let me know. You can reach me at recoveryofhope21@gmail.com. I think what happens when the newcomer comes into the rooms and they're introduced to the fellowship, I think that there's this psychosis or this thought that these people know me, and it may be real. These people know me from using. They know me from the streets. And I cannot tell you who I can trust or who I can't trust. So I'm not going to trust anyone. And I'm not going to share who I am. And so I think initially people, the only level of accountability that they're willing to admit, generally speaking, is the one they're forced to. Either their health, their family, or the system drove them into the rooms. It may, it may be, I think ultimately it's a God thing, but generally speaking, the people that I've met, something drove them into the room. They didn't come, happy, joyous, and free. I'm glad to be in recovery. No, they came because their health sent them. Their family got fed up with them and said, if you want a relationship with us, you need to do thus and so, or the system sent them. Every now and then, I've met a few people that have said, I just got tired. Circumstances sent them, right? So a lot of time when people get into the fellowship, as long as they don't use their drug of choice, they're fine. They think they're just fine. I'm not changing another thing. I don't need a relationship with anybody. I don't need a sponsor to talk to. I don't need a network to talk to. I made it in here. I'm no longer using what I used to use, and I'm okay with the other stuff I choose to use, right? And so when they come in out the gate, they have a dishonest program. But eventually, if they stay around long enough, they're going to start hearing the similarities. And the similarities, right? We just had a just for the day the other day that says share, right? Allow someone to share their experience, strength, and hope, and then you take a chance and share yours, right? Eventually, they're going to hear someone share something that is so similar to their experience, strength, and hope that they will be able to identify. And at that point of identification, they will make a decision to start doing the work so they can receive the freedom that they see this other person has simply just by sharing their experience, strength, and hope. It takes a lot of freedom or desperation to be able to share the truth, right? And so I do believe that all is as it should be. I believe that when a person is ready, when the student is ready, the teacher will appear. I believe when a person's heart, their mind, their spirit is ripe, ready, right? When they're ready, then all of a sudden tools will present themselves so that they can do the work that they need to do. And there's some of you that are listening, you are, oh, there's some of you that are listening and you've been thinking about doing step work on a deeper level, not just talking about it with your sponsor or even getting a sponsor or talking to me about it. But there's a level of craving that is going on the inside that is telling you it's now or never. I have to do this if I'm going to be successful. I have to go deeper if I'm going to make this work. Because on the superficial level, you've been able to skate by and everything's been just fine, right? You don't answer to nobody unless you want to because we're all grown in here. Autonomy is a given in here, right? But there are some of you that are listening and you're saying, I want more. I want more, and I want to understand these spiritual principles on a level that I can get an inculcation of them, right? Get an understanding of them, a deep understanding where it touches your heart, it touches your mind and your spirit and your body, a complete recovery, right? You want that so badly. And you have been hanging around us long enough and you've decided that now is the time to do that. And I would submit to you that this is the time for you to do that. You know, I'm a pretty playful person. I try to have a good time. Most days I do. But recovery is one of those things that I think because it came to me in bits and pieces. And it wasn't until I was completely broken. And when I say completely broken, I made some really, really, really unhealthy choices about men that I just had to have. And I had years clean, many years clean, but I had very, very little recovery. I was a dressed up garbage can. And at some point, at that breaking point that we didn't know if I would ever know who I was again, at that point in 1997, right? I got here in 93. In 1997, when I had that nervous breakdown at that convention, they called it the CACNA convention, right? Kalamazoo Area Convention of Narcotics Anonymous. When we had that convention that particular year down at the new, I want to say it was the new Radisson. It may have been, it may still have been the Hilton. I'm not sure. But this was 1997, and it took me 2.5 months to be able to put two sentences or two steps together. And I was clean when that happened. So it was never appropriate for me to use people the way that I did. But today, I would not even dream of messing with a newcomer. I would not even dream of doing any of the stuff I did in my first 10 years. I just wouldn't. Not at 28.5 years. No, ma'am. No, not today. And so I want to say that, I take my recovery very seriously. And if you are sensing that you need to go a step further, and you're interested in taking a look at what the program has to offer, you go ahead and you get your flat book, your step working guide book, and you get ready. You get ready because certainly very soon here, I'm going to start covering these steps question by question by question. You will have an example of what doing step work looks like, right? And they say don't do it alone. If you do it with Mighty Stream, you're certainly not going to be doing it alone. I won't claim to be your sponsor, but I will say that if you are ready, you get your flat book. It's called the Step Working Guide of Narcotics Anonymous. You get that green and gold workbook, and you get ready to roll your sleeves up and do some work. I just believe it's a good format for journaling and understanding oneself. I really do. The model that they use is a self-help model, right? And it is a solution-based model, meaning that you do the work and you look at finding the solutions, not so much the liabilities, but the solutions to those liabilities. How do you correct that behavior that you've been bogged down with for all these years? My name is Mighty Stream, and I am excited to be with you. This will be published on the morning of April 6th, and it will be there waiting for you when you wake up. You have a good evening, and I look forward to talking to you soon.